Regis Nedlands is in one of Perth's most exclusive suburbs, charging up to $1.4 million per person for accommodation and first-class care.
It was a new facility. It looked very beautiful. The people seemed very caring. I just thought that it would be a really great place and he would be looked after properly.
Brian Hunter moved into Regis Nedlands 18 months ago. He was in a wheelchair, both his legs lost to diabetes.
Today, we could swelter through our hottest day in Perth in 10 months. The temperature is forecast to reach 40 degrees.
2 days before Christmas last year, his daughter Lee Hammond received a phone call.
The Weather Bureau says a trough...
I think it was about 3:30 in the afternoon, informing me that my father had been taken to hospital due to sunburn. They told me they couldn't find him, they didn't know where he was, which really shocked me because I knew how hot it had been, and I said, "What do you mean he'd been sunburnt?"
Lee went to the hospital where she discovered her father had been left outside on the nursing home roof terrace for 2 hours on a scorching 40-degree day.
He was slumped over in the bed and his back was exposed. I could see his back was really terribly burnt and he was not speaking to us. He was semi in and out of consciousness. He went into like a hypodelirium, which means he was very, very sleepy all the time and couldn't stay awake long enough and he couldn't swallow. He was on fluids all the time for his dehydration and the doctor told me that his kidneys had gotten quite bad.
Lee Hammond says police told her that the CCTV footage showed a Regis staff member entering the access code to allow Brian Hunter onto the terrace. None of the staff noticed he was missing. The 86-year-old was only rescued after a visitor spotted him unconscious in his wheelchair.
It's disgusting that anyone would open a door on a 40-degree day and let a man outside with no water. I mean, if that carer had put him outside, shouldn't she have reported that he'd gone outside? Why didn't they know where he was for 2 hours?
That's a nice one of guy.
He's so happy there, isn't he?
Yeah.
After 4 weeks, Brian Hunter passed away.
At the end of his life, he wasn't speaking at all. They had to feed tube him because he couldn't swallow and he barely recognised us.
That was when we were first married. Well, I was 18 and Dad was 19.
He was just a great father, a wonderful grandfather, fantastic husband. It's just so distressing to see him being treated in that manner. Totally, I think he's just totally neglected. It was awful.
The hospital reported Regis to the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission, but the Office of the Federal Regulator was on holidays and didn't visit for 2.5 weeks.
I don't understand why that Regis would be saying that, or why would they say that when they know that...
In its report to the Commission, Regis said it was Brian Hunter who entered the access code for the terrace, not a staff member.
They're saying that Dad was at the keypad and he entered the code, and after he entered the code, that the member helped him open the door. I mean, that's not right because once you put the key code in, the doors open automatically. You don't need any help to open an automatic door.
Definitely. That's right.
I've visited Dad many times at Regis and he really found it quite difficult to remember the key code number. Every time I went there, I would have to put the code in for him.
While Brian Hunter was dying in hospital, 6 trainee nurses from Edith Cowan University were on work experience at Regis. They say they witnessed abuse and neglect of other residents and wrote a report to Regis, who sent it to police to investigate. The student nurses also say they saw inappropriate sexual conduct by a carer, and in one section of the report seen by the ABC, rough handling by staff, including carers harshly pulling on residents' arms, causing pain, yet the carers would continue, and residents being pulled up by the pants to get them to stand or when moving. When one trainee nurse said these practices were wrong, the carer allegedly told her, "You are taught one way and then you come into the real world and this is real world practice." Following the report, Regis stood down the carers identified and are investigating the allegations. Regis called the family of 90-year-old Vera Ward to tell them she was one of those allegedly abused. Her daughter, Katrina Selma Johansson, said she'd complained to Regis many times about her mother's mistreatment and neglect.
At one stage, Mum was calling 7 times a day and leaving messages. She would be screaming, crying. She would be lying in bed in her faeces for hours. They would sometimes miss her meals.
Katrina didn't see her mother for months because of illness and the COVID lockdown.
Hi, Mum. Oh. Hi.
Oh, Sheila. Are you here?
It's me, yeah.
Oh.
When she visited last August, she says her mother had lost a lot of weight because she had no teeth for 8 months, as Regis had failed to get her new dentures.
I couldn't believe that was my mother and how much she had changed in 8 months. She was extremely weak. She'd say repeatedly, "You don't know what it's like in here, they treat me so badly."
But worse still, Katrina discovered her mother had a pressure wound so deep it went through to her spine and required hospitalisation. The photo's too graphic to show the true extent of the injury.
Nothing could prepare me for what I saw. Nothing. There was a hole about 2 inches in circumference right through to the spine. It was full of pus and just stinking.
It's absolutely dreadful.
Following the abuse allegations, Vera Ward is in hospital again with malnutrition and looking for a new nursing home.
Did they ever treat you badly?
It all depends on who it was.
Okay.
Some people are really bad and some of them are so kind and nice.
Total disbelief that this could happen in a country like ours. I'm frightened for all the other elderly people out there. I think how many other people are being treated like this.
Dick Lee moved into Regis, Netherlands in March last year.
Every Friday they have happy hour between 2 and 3. We had wine, soft drinks and nibbles, and we had a great time.
Lisa Chan thought all was well until last month when Regis called saying her father had been identified as another resident allegedly abused.
He was being dragged from the bedroom door to the ensuite bathroom. That was really inhuman. It's just like dragging an animal.
According to the student nurse's report, the 94-year-old was naked and sitting in faeces at the time. Another carer then arrived and the pair placed their foot down onto Mr. Lee's bare toes and grabbed him by the arms and yanked him up.
And my heart broke when I heard that.
Days after the alleged abuse, Dick Lee became very ill, unable to get out of bed and not eating. But despite the abuse allegation, doctors at Regis didn't transfer him to hospital for 5 days.
I have never seen him looking so bad and so painful on his face, but he couldn't express himself. He couldn't tell me what actually happened.
When he arrived at hospital, the doctors told the family he had liver failure, was in a coma and had just 24 hours to live. Dick Lee died the next day, a week after he was allegedly dragged along the floor.
He died 12 hours after, and that was very, very devastated. We didn't even prepare for it. I'm very thankful to the students of reporting what they saw, what they witnessed.
Regis declined an interview, but said it's investigating the incidents raised by the students and that there is no evidence beyond the allegation document that a resident was dragged or had their toes stood on. But when the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission did an audit last month, it found 30 allegations of rough handling and unwanted sexual contact in January alone. They observed for themselves residents soaked in urine, a naked resident covered in faeces wandering around, and elderly with chronic and necrotic wounds. A year earlier, the federal regulator had given Regis Nedlands a 100% score for passing all safety and quality standards. The coroner is investigating the deaths of both Dick Lee and Brian Hunter. But police have already told the families they won't be laying charges because there's no evidence of criminality.
If this had happened in a childcare facility or, definitely charges would be laid. But there's no charges laid against anyone. No one's accountable for what's happened here. It's just not fair.
How are you, darling?
I'm good, thank you.
Nice to meet you. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It's very sad. It's very
just
sad.
terrible.
Today, these families are meeting for the first time since the deaths and alleged abuse of their parents.
When the social worker rang me the next morning from the hospital, she said, if you brought him in that condition,
You'd be charged.
I would have been charged with neglect or abuse.
Yeah.
Definitely charged.
It's dangerous, that's hurting people.
I don't know how you feel about it, but I've been seeking a lawyer who might represent us in the class action.
They don't understand how this could have happened just as the Aged Care Royal Commission is about to report after a 2-year investigation.
I think our government has a responsibility to really act on this and act on it fast.
It's happening everywhere. Even if you pay $1 million, you still can't get good care for the elderly.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.